you don't succeed, try again. Just ask AB. He's filing another grievance against the NFL over his helmet for not having a full calendar year grace period to find a helmet that works for him, a source telling our Adam Schefter. The grievance is the latest part of Brown's ongoing fight against an NFL policy that requires helmet certification according to industry standards. Brown already lost a grievance against the NFL that sought an exception so he could wear his shut air advantage, a helmet he's worn throughout his career. Dominique, I will start with you. What impact will all this have on AB's legacy?
I think if this were just an isolated event, we might be able to excuse it. And I've found ways, it's very difficult to understand where AB is coming from here. And I've found some ways to convince myself that he is such a talented artist that if you change one variable for an artist, it's possible that they feel like they cannot continue to do the work that they've done. I could excuse, or I could convince myself to excuse this particular issue if this was isolated. But he has such a track record, and people compare him to somebody like T.O. and other guys like that. He has such a track record of off-the-field concerns that are, frankly, sometimes inexplicable, that I think that it's impossible for this not to be a footnote or even higher than a footnote in his legacy when we're talking about him, in part because the people who define his legacy are, by and large, the media, and this is all we feel like we're covering with AB. We don't cover how great he is. We talk about it, but the most intriguing stories about AB are how he has beef with a lot of Steelers, including the quarterback, and how he has frostbite on his feet, and how he refuses to play if he doesn't have the right helmet that is not as safe as other helmets. Like, that's going to be something that weighs down his legacy, and we look at a guy like T.O., had to wait a long time to get into the Hall of Fame, and many receivers have to wait a while to get in the Hall of Fame. These things will weigh on AB's legacy, no doubt.
Well, let's call it what it is. Antonio Brown is an absolute embarrassment right now. Let's just call it what it is. You don't have to say it. I'll go there. It's embarrassing to see what he's doing. It's embarrassing to see the lack of professionalism. I'm not questioning his greatness because this guy is one of the greatest receivers in the game today. For the last 6 years, a minimum of 101 receptions for 1,284 yards, a minimum over each of the last 6 seasons. He's absolutely spectacular as a talent. But with that talent has come an elevated level of arrogance that, as far as I'm concerned, is going to exact collateral damage against bodies far extending beyond him. They're going to use Antonio Brown. They're going to look at his behavior, and they're going to see, this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about. I'm not saying it's going to be fair. I'm not saying it's the right thing for owners to do, but the reality of the situation, these are the kind of things that transpire. And one of the things that we do on this show, and I try to be as fair-minded as I possibly can, and I try to paint a picture, particularly for Black Americans, about what the plight is, what the challenge is that you face when you go out into the real world. You know and I know it's a constant uphill climb. In our community, we consistently talk about needing to be twice as good to get half as much, and all of these other things that are associated with those kind of terminologies. And then you have somebody like Antonio Brown, who's nothing short of greatness. And the second it's validated via money, contract dollars, cachet, perceived or literal or what have you, what does he do? He goes out and acts like this. Dominique, there are over 2,000 players in the NFL at this particular moment in time. It'll get dwindled down, 18, but it's over 2,000 players. He is the only player in the entire NFL carrying on like this.
That's
and
fair.
When you look at it from that perspective, the fact that he would do that with a new team, with a new coach, with a new GM and Mike Mayock,
and a new contract,
$30 million additional guaranteed dollars after the residue of Pittsburgh was left behind, where you supposedly quit on a team. He says otherwise, because I spoke to him, but they say he quit on a team the last game of the season. This is how you start off your career in the Raiders. It's inexcusable. It really is.
It's so easy for all of us to pile on the players, which is why I find myself often trying to find a way to defend the players. Antonio Brown is making it really hard for me at this point to find a way to defend him. But the only thing that I can potentially say to defend him is all this arrogance that we're talking about. It's not new. You could argue that's the reason why he made it. He went to a small school, and he was drafted very late, and he became, if not the best, one of the best receivers in the game. That is tied to the person that he is. And I agree that now he can still believe. Now, it's possible that if you have, like I mentioned before, he's an artist. If you try to change out the paintbrushes on a great artist, they might say that they cannot create the art that they once did. So I think that is the best possible defense I can have for AB in this helmet issue.
But I would still challenge you on us as Black men feeling a responsibility to point this kind of stuff out. And here's why. And here's why. When somebody messes up to the rest of America, that ain't us. That's you. That's him. Everybody don't act like that. No. Most folks don't act like that. And so what happens is that when you're in that kind of position, what they do is the powers that be utilize that behavior to stigmatize others who would never conduct themselves that way, no matter how cocky, arrogant, confident, or whatever they
understand.
are. That is the point, and that's the important point that needs to be made. You cannot do this
that argument.
kind of stuff.
I think Antonio Brown is a point where he does not represent all black people. I understand that.
I know that.
But
I'm not saying that.
I know, but I mean, you're arguing that his behavior is going to have a negative effect on other black players who are trying to do
on the come up, trying to get that contract. Yes.
I think the onus should not be necessarily on us correcting Antonio Brown's behavior, but correcting the way that people perceive other black people, and the idea that you can look at one and look at the behavior of one black person and somehow deduce that they are a monolith and this represents everybody else. So we shouldn't be attacking. We should attack Antonio Brown as an individual for the way he's behaving, but we should not attack Antonio Brown for the way that his behavior reflects upon all of us. We should attack the people who extrapolate the behavior.
And my retort to that was, how about both? Because guess what? When I talk about Antonio Brown, okay, we can attack the system. I'm going to attack the system any day of the week. We know that. But here's the reality of the situation. You threw Mike Tomlin under the bus. You threw Juju Smith under the bus. Ryan Clark, your former teammate, our colleague here at ESPN, highly professional, highly intelligent. You called him a sellout. Yeah. You threw him under the bus. Okay, you go to Oakland. I mean, you got residue, you got bodies lying in wait with this dude because of the decisions that he's made, his willingness to throw people under the bus, and then he'll look for support from people like you, me, or anybody else where you do stuff that is absolutely, positively indefensible. So all I'm saying is, Antonio Brown, your behavior at this point in time is indefensible. It's embarrassing, and it needs to stop, period.
Yeah. On a football note, I'm curious for Derek Carr's sake if he's going to miss having these reps with him in preseason and practice as he's trying to prove that he's a franchise quarterback. No question. All right, guys, Zion was the top prize in the 2019 NBA draft, but find out why his colleagues aren't sold on the hype. Fellow Blue Devil Jay Billis joins us next.
The NFL season is right around the corner.